Okay, so for the next series of videos, we are going to be doing a lot of GIS work, most especially on QGIS, that's Quantum GIS. Okay, and as time goes on, we will shift into ArcGIS and maybe ADAS and other GIS environments. But for now, I want us to get Quantum GIS installed on our PC so that we can begin what we want to do. For the next series of videos, I want to make you um, good at using QGIS, okay, so that you can always perform your various GIS work or spatial work. Okay, so for now, let's get into downloading it. So in order to download it, I always prefer to Google, or instead of using I'll just say download QGIS like this, and we will. Okay, well, I think somehow it sent me to the default. uh, I'm sure it's supposed to. How come it sent me exactly to the QGIS? Okay, I think I used my default. So you use the first link. You should see download QGIS over here, and you can check in all releases. Or is it previous releases of QGIS are still available here? Now this is the current release over here. You can see that we have 3.24 as the current release, and this is the latest, and this is the more stable. Okay, so it's always good if you want to use maybe features, very new features, then you should be looking at the latest. But if you're looking for stable, more stable, the most stable option that does not crash a lot, then you should be downloading this one, the long term most stable option. Okay, so but usually what I prefer to do is I like to go to the previous releases and see if I will find some I am much interested in. There are some particular versions I'm used to, or I have enjoyed using. Okay, so yeah, I'm just going to go down towards this 2021. So let's see. I think I want something like where anybody seeing 3.4. I want a version somewhere around 3.4. If it's 3.4 or just below, before 3.4 is cool for me. So anyways, it's really up to you what version you want to use, because every version is improved upon. Okay, um just that I have used 3.4 and I prefer that's I prefer it's okay, good. This 3.4 or around 3.4, this around 2019. So, well, it's up to you. You can download the latest, you can download the long term. It's all about how much bugs you think you would encounter. Now, if you are new to it, I'm very sure you might not even know what I'm talking about. Okay, so what I suggest to do is just if you're new to it and you don't know what you're doing, play along with me. Okay, so let's look for 3.4. I don't know which of the 3.4 to use, but this is 2019. Okay, I'm not sure. So let's pick 3.411 or 3.410. Okay, 3.410. Now this is designed for both 86 and 64 bits. Okay, so just be sure what your PC uses. If you're not sure what your PC uses, you can just type this PC like this, right click on it, and then go to properties. Okay. Uh-oh. Okay, so when you right click and you go to properties, you would see 64 bits operating system. Okay, some of you might see 32 bits, especially if you are using a very old PC. So just make sure if you are using 32 bits, you download this 86 version. But if you are using 64, then you can go with the one that has 64 or both 64 and 82. Right. So and what you should be looking out is downloading something that has a .xex or an executable file extension. Some of them are not for Windows, some of them are for Linux and Mac OS. So anyway, let's see which one we can work with. Okay, I like this one, 3.411. So I'm just going to hit on it, and then my downloader will take it. Let me redirect it to my desktop so that I can easily find it. And good, the download starts now. I'm just going to wait for it to finish, and then we can continue. So I'm going to pause the video, and let's see. You can follow my videos by subscribing to the channel and consider leaving a thumbs up on this video. Thank you. All right, so over here, the downloading has been completed. So now that we have the setup here, be sure you have the setup completed. If this icon is not appearing, then it's most likely still downloading, or perhaps it's corrupted. Sometimes you might have such issues. Not necessarily with QGIS, but with any software you're downloading. Make sure the download is completed before you start running it. Okay. All right, so now that the download is completed, all I have to do is to run it. So I open it. Okay, just run it. You don't need to run it as an administrator. It's not necessary right now. So I'm just going to run it, and then I wait for it to load. Okay, just a sec. Okay, good. So this is the wizard for installing it. Okay, so I'm just going to hit next, and I agree. And well, it always chooses a default path. So if you want to redirect the installation folder to a different place, cool. But I suggest just leave everything as it is and move on. Now, these are some other components that it might install for it. You might choose to download and install depending on what you want. They come with their own data sets, okay, but I don't need them. Anyway, so I'm going to hit on install and wait for it to finish installing. So for every GIS work, what you need is a GIS environment to work in. That's what QGIS is. It's basically a GIS environment that will allow you to do your visualization of data, that will allow you to analyze your data. That will actually, there's so much range of things you can do with QGIS. And every day, because QGIS is an open source software, every day more plugins are being released, more extensions are being created, features are being added to it, so that well, things get easier. Okay, so I that's one of the things I like about QGIS. It's open source, so I mean there's a lot of features that comes. It's quite simple to use. It's not as difficult as other environments I've tried my hands on. So um, I hope this learning goes well. I'm sure you'll be good by the time we are through with it. All right, good. So now that the installation is done, I am going to hit next or finish, right? Finish. And I think we're good to go, right? So if you hit on your start menu, you should see QGIS desktop and maybe other features of QGIS installed on it. So what we want to use is QGIS desktop, okay? But before we proceed with introducing you to the interface and the rest, I want us to finish the setting up by creating a project folder. Okay, now various people have different ways of setting up their project folders, depends on how you prefer it, but I have a unique way of doing mine. I always like to have I'll show you one I've already done, but for now I just want us to do it together. So let's assume this is my project folder. I am going to create a folder called QGIS, okay, or QGIS projects, depends on how you want to call it, QGIS, and under it I will oh wait, just a sec. I usually prefer to, I think I should show you mine. I think it's much easier. So I usually prefer to have, where's my projects? So I have a projects folder here. It contains all the projects I do, or basically I arrange those projects based on certain field of study or field of work. Anyway, so then I zoom into what I want to do, GIS, and then under it I have all my GIS projects inside it. Okay, so it's easy to share. So whenever I need someone, I need to share someone's work with a person, I just zip it, right click, and I zip it and forward it to the person. Okay, it's much easier that way. So what happens is I should be able to dump my data inside here and my exports. Anyway, that's not the right way of doing it. I should be able to dump my data and my exports inside it. So let's just do that again. So over here, I'm going to create my projects like this, and inside it I'm going to say GIS. And if you know you use different kinds of GIS environments, for instance, you know you use ArcGIS and you use QGIS and you use what ADAS and you use actually there are so many of them, so you can choose to specify QGIS because you cannot easily open QGIS projects with ArcGIS, right? Good. So QGIS over here, then you have your first project name. Maybe this project is for what's the name, modeling. Okay, let's just say adding vector data. Okay, I would have called it what. So basically the name of the project depends on what. It's good to name every project based on the function or the aim of the project. So adding vector data. Okay, so if let's say you are doing a project for someone, it's good to add the title of the project plus the person's name so that you easily remember which project belongs to who. Okay, these are not necessary right now, this is just for learning purposes. So but I suggest to have a proper workflow so that you don't get confused with your data, which means that for this project, whenever I have to do any work, let me just rename it this way, adding data for Mr. Kojo. So this way, whenever I have to forward Mr. Kojo's data, so I just open here and I say data like this, and I have another folder called exports, which means everything I'll be exporting. Okay, and I could add as many folders as I need depending on what I want to put inside them. Okay, so over here I would have put my data, say my shape files and raster data, whatever data I have to put inside Excel, anything I have to put inside, that's my data. And my exported maps, anything that's the output of the result of whatever you are doing, okay, they come to the exports. And perhaps the project itself can just be outside here. It's cool. So what I suggest is have a certain workflow like this, and you see that everything goes easy for you. Now I'm going to end this video here, okay, but in the next video what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete this one because that's not what I use. I already showed you what I use, so I may not show it to you anymore, but just have something like that. In the next video what we're going to do is I'm going to introduce you to the interface of the environment, the GIS QGIS environment, and what you need to know about it, so that we can proceed with adding data to it, manipulating the data, observing the attributes, and visualizing it. Okay, so for now let's work on our project file path. Okay, bye.